Welcome back to quarter number 3. Athletes, I'm talking to you right now. This is really essential. These first 5 minutes of the second half is where we win the ball game. If we want to win the Super Bowl, we must win this first 5 minutes of the third quarter. And that's why we talk in leadership. Leadership. When we kick it off, we go down there, we go down and we bust. I can't say it on the podcast. We bust some tail on this kickoff. We're going to jar that ball loose. We're going to turn the ball over. The ball becomes ours, and we're going to stuff it in the end zone. That, my friends, is going to be the key to victory these first 5 minutes. Great adjustments are done at halftime. That's why quarter number 3, we're talking all about leadership and business. As a matter of fact, I came up with today the old championship leadership, lessons from successful teams. Now, when you think about this and what it's going to take, we have some very specific steps that we're going to take to help your leadership. And remember this, the teams heading to the Super Bowl didn't just have talent. They had a strategy. There was chemistry, and they had a culture of winning. And this is really important. Why? Because, this is all about the culture of your business. It's not just about having talented colleagues and coworkers on your team. It's all about what you bring to the table. And I have 6 things I want to talk today about leadership. That's right. It's chock full of content today. Why? Well, because it's the Super Bowl week, and we're looking on how you can bring your Super Bowl mindset from the gridiron into your life. So number 1, when it comes to leadership, we want to make sure we define the roles clearly within your organization. Regardless of your title or your role in your organization, we want to make sure that the roles are clearly defined. Just like positions on the field, you got to know what each team member does on the field. Otherwise, you have a quarterback that's running, or you have a running back that's blocking. You need to know what your main primary job is, right? So like position on the field, each team member at work or at home must know their assignment. Do you know your assignment? Do you know what is most expected? Or are you getting distracted and getting on social media at work, and you find that you are like the average worker in America that is only working 3 hours? 3 hours! 3 hours of work out of an 8-hour day? NG, not good. That means if you are a football player and you're executing only, let's say, 40% of the time, you're not going to be very good. As a matter of fact, you're not playing this weekend in the Super Bowl. That's for darn sure. How do you optimize the performance, optimize the actual role and assignment, and do the assignment? Because that is really important. So point number 1 in leadership is define the roles clearly and make sure people are actually following their assignments. Number 2, leadership. The best coaches make their halftime adjustments. And I was partially joking coming out of this halftime, but here's what I'd say. In football, the best coaches make their changes in game. They make in-game changes, right? You got to make those because the defense puts a different stunt up front, or they're twisting, and you got coverages that are all going to be they're going to really hide their coverages. So you got to, just like the same thing in business for your projects, you got to schedule a short halftime. And you got to schedule this halftime where you have check-ins weekly or even bi-weekly to pivot if necessary. Just like halftime or in-game adjustments, like you've got to make sure that you make these adjustments, because if you just go in at halftime, and I know coaches that do this, and they're just like, hey, we're going to keep doing what we did the first half, and you're down 14 points, that's not a good adjustment. If they say, hey, you just got to try harder, I typically don't find that at least at the high school, college, and pro ranks, that it's just try harder, because most kids don't go out there like, hey, coach, I wasn't trying very hard. I was just getting my tail whooped, and it felt really good to get whooped. How about making some adjustments that are going to put you and your team in a position to succeed? No different in the business world. Make the adjustments. You don't have to wait until June and July and the second half of the year. How about making them right now? If you're getting your tail whooped in something, it could be February 3rd. As this podcast drops, you're like, I got to make some change. I got to make it now. I'm not going to wait till the first quarter is over or the second quarter is over until halftime. Number 3, don't overhype your people. Huh? Don't overhype them. I thought they need motivation. Yeah, they do, but not in the Super Bowl. They don't. The bigger the game, sometimes motivation is less important. Let me repeat that. Sometimes the bigger the game, the less motivation is important. What do I mean by that? Well, because there's going to be plenty of energy in the air. You're not going to need to hype up your people for the Super Bowl. As a matter of fact, some inside, when you go into the locker room before the Super Bowl and everything's extended, got longer pregame, halftime is longer. You go in there and sometimes you're like, wait, is it the Super Bowl? Why? Because it's quiet. Some guys are lying down on their back with their feet up in their locker and they're almost taking a nap. Like, wait a second, why are they hyped? Because you know that when you go through that tunnel and you see all those cameras, you see jets flying over top, you know what's coming, man. You know that it's game time and it's going to be there. You're going to have the adrenaline rolling. So you don't need to get overhyped and have an adrenaline dump and you go out there and you're tired. That's the experience why teams like the Chiefs, and there's some Eagles who've been in the Super Bowl before as well, where experience really pays off. Coaches, you don't want to overhype your people. There's times where you got to jack your people up, and there's times you got to set them down. So, what would be some reminders, right? In this, like what are some things that you have to do to help your people? Is don't over caffeinate. Not for big games like this. Don't over caffeinate. Eliminate distractions. Family, friends, partying the week of the Super Bowl. For yourself in your business world, like how do you eliminate distractions? How do you not over caffeinate so you're so excited about everything that you can't even focus on sitting your tail down and getting butt glue and doing an email that you need to write for 90 minutes because it's your newsletter that's important, right? So that's an important aspect in point number 4 is set reminders. Don't overhype your people. The bigger the game, sometimes motivation is less important. And 4, set the reminders. 4, set reminders, all those things of like what you should do and what you shouldn't do is really important. The other one in setting reminders is this. See the athletic trainer for all the little bumps and bruises you have. This is football talk I have today, but also with the Super Bowl talk is for you. If you got injuries that are kind of racking up and you got 2, 3, 4, 5 things that are hurting you, man, see the athletic trainer, see the physical therapist, see your doctor if you have to, something hurting. Like sometimes it's not like, oh, I'm going to suck it up because all of those little injuries, bumps and bruises and things that you've been holding on to for weeks and months, they affect your performance. They affect your mindset. So make sure that you make sure you do that because you take care of your body. Your body is your temple, as I've said. Last week at Pastor Miles's church, The Rock, the body's a temple. Take care of it. Number 5, tell your team at work, at home, and your athletic team, make sure you tell your team how much you believe in them. How much you believe in them and really believing what you're saying. Why? Because belief is so much a part of success. Why? Well, because when you tell people that you believe in them, many times it's interesting how you can believe in someone more than they actually believe in themselves. Parents, that's why it's crucial that you tell your kids, your children, whether they're 9 years old, they're 19 years old, they're 22 years old, they're 16 years old, they're 5 years old, of how much you believe in them and that your dreams are worth something. You got to fight for your dreams. You go out and you give it your all. And you're like giving your kids a motivational mindset talk. Well, you know why? Is because belief is one of the most important things you can instill in any human being. It's no different at work. Sometimes when you overload your coworker or colleagues to-do file with so many things is just the simple fact is the fact that you're giving them so much is because you believe in them and that you know that they can do a job unlike most other people because you're not looking to create an average company or an average coaching program. Like you want to attract people who are willing to make the changes that are necessary to get to where you want to go. I would say this inside of our mastermind program and Impact X coaching is we want people who are action takers, people who want to actually not just say they want to make change, but actually do the change by taking action. We've got some smart people within those programs, but you have to be willing to take the action. We can instill belief and motivation, inspiration. We've got the X's and the O's and the know-hows, but ultimately each and every one of us has to say, yes, I'm going to take action. I'm willing to fail or make mistakes in order to get to that next step. And that's absolutely crucial. So tell your team you believe in them. And point number 6, now hang with me here, have an air of confidence about yourself. Have an air of confidence about yourself. Now, what do I mean by that? I am not saying to be cocky. No, in any way, no. But have an air of confidence about you. Let them feel you. Let your teammates feel you. Let your coworkers and colleagues feel you. When I say feel you, feel your energy, feel your air. There's something different about her. There's something different about him. You know, you've heard me talk about 80% of communication is body language, right? And the $1,000,000 question is, how do you have that air of confidence when you're not very confident? The more leaders I work with and the more leaders I lead and speak with within their companies and lead, we've got the Impact Leadership Day, which is an all-day leadership program for leaders and their companies, is many times it's almost like you have this air that you're not who your title says you are, and you don't even believe deep down, like, who am I to be this person making these decisions? And I'm running a multi-million or $100 million company. Who am I? And all of a sudden you're thinking, like, is that me, or is this like the imposter syndrome kicking in? Hey, listen, my friend, you right now, have an air of confidence about you and kick the little birdie off your shoulder and stop telling yourself lies that the devil wants you to hear, that, hey, you're no good. Who are you to be this? That's the enemy speaking to you. And I don't want you to let that into your dome, because I believe that each and every one of us has to have an air of confidence, a very warmth feeling, a feeling of that she or he is in charge, and it's okay if they make mistakes, but an air of confidence that's going to breed confidence, because confidence breeds confidence. Let me repeat that. Confidence breeds confidence. And when you are confident, you're going to approach a task much differently than if you have any timidity in you and you're shy, or you're reserved about that versus attacking that task. So that's an important aspect that I want to make out of the 6 leadership points. Now, here's an interesting study I also found in doing my due diligence today, because this is Super Bowl. I ain't messing around today. This is for the win. I'm playing for the W today with a podcast. I want a bunch of W's out there. I want you to let me know it's a W. Third quarter. We win the third quarter. We win the podcast. A Deloitte study found that high-performing teams regularly reassess goals and their progress, and that improves project success rates by up to 29%. Let's round it and say 30 for argument's sake. So if they found a 29% success ratio has been boosted because of reassessing your goals and your progress, that's significant. Absolutely significant. So what I would implore you to do is to make sure that you looked at the goals you set about a month ago. It's February 3rd as this podcast drops. That means January 3rd, we came roaring into this year, and it was January 5th was a Monday, the first Monday of the year. And it was like, okay, this is the first, we have our goals. We've done our annual strategic plans. It's okay if you got to change. It's okay if some things have happened and you need to make some tweaks, you need to make some modifications and edits, and you need to make an audible at the line of scrimmage. That's okay, right? That's all part of being a great performer on that. So my question to you is, in business, which project or which team could most benefit from a halftime adjustment right now? A halftime adjustment, or call it an in-game adjustment. But this adjustment because it's not working. You've been trying it in the Q4 of 24. You tried it for the first month of January. It ain't working. We got to make a change. Well, I don't know what to do. Then reach out to someone like myself, or reach out to a coach and say, hey, coach, can we have a call? Can we just book a call so that we can get on and talk through and this and get some feedback on what you think we should do? Because guess what? The best coach in the world, they have other coaches they go to in times of wander and pondering of what the next step is. So your action step is, if you need a coach, reach out, please. I'm more than happy to help you. Or plan a 15-minute huddle with your team, with your leadership team, or plan a meeting and revisit some of the goals. clarify the roles that have to be dialed in, and make any quick improvements. Maybe it's a very simple change you have to make and you're not as far off as you think. But when you let your teammates know or your leadership team know that you just feel like something's off, either the numbers are showing it, or you ever feel it on the inside? You got this weird feeling. I know some of you get that because I know some of you who listen into this podcast, and that's an intuition that something just doesn't feel right. Well, if you were to share that with a fellow leader within your organization is, hey, am I being crazy, or is this feeling that I'm having, is this just my feeling? And you share that like, no, you're onto something. Something feels off. And listen, I don't want to hear it's like the Mercury grade is that like, can you address it straight on? I get all that stuff. I understand it. I love it. But I want to know X's and O's. What can we do to make sure that you make any adjustments right now, halftime? So with those leadership tips that I just shared with you, like leadership in business, championship leadership, all lessons from successful teams, I shared 6 different points with you. And I want you to think about having a 15-minute huddle. Maybe it's this week, maybe it's next week, but think about with your team, what can you tweak? The best coaches are always adjusting. They're always looking at what they can do. Or when I say adjusting, it might mean they're like, wow, I didn't think this counter game was going to be so special with Saquon, and we're going to continue to pound him and pound him and pound him, and then run a boot off of that and drop it into the flat. And next thing you know, you have a 19-yard gain, and you're moving those sticks, right? So again, pardon all the football talk, but I feel like I'm in my zone right now because quarter number 3 is over, and we're heading into the 4th quarter right now.